Yeah, no. Hello, Susan Henry. Can you see and hear me?
Can you hear me, Charmin? I can't hear you.
I can hear you a little bit. I hear noise in the background. You can't hear me? Hmm. Testing, testing. Yeah, mute my audio. I'm not muting. Oh, I see Steve Funk. Steve Funk, can you hear and see me?
Can.
Yay. Okay, now Susan said here a moment ago that she could not hear me, and I can hear her, but it's muffled with a lot of background noise. And I don't think she's come back on off of mute since she told me that. I can see you, Susan Henry. I can't hear you. It says that your mute is on, or your little icon shows you muted. Hello, Scott. I see you.
Good morning.
Good morning. Okay. Steve is on. Susan was having a little trouble. She said she could not hear me. So I know that they're working on some things, it looks like, maybe.
Okay. I have no problem hearing you at all.
Excellent. And Tobe, I can see the agenda just fine.
Very good, Scott. I'll be running this. So if you have anything you want to, any specific pages, just ask me to move it to a certain spot and I will certainly do that for you.
We'll do it. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
Just as a reminder, with Keith Humphrey out today, Ray will be running the meeting this morning.
Good morning. Am I coming through okay?
Yes, sir, you are. How are you doing?
Good, thank you.
Morning, Ray.
morning.
Morning, Scott, and whoever else is on.
Good morning, Sandy.
Hey, Scott, while we are waiting,
Mhm.
do you have the contact information for the 3 universities that were assigned to me so that I can reach out and contact them about setting up visits?
Yes, I can send you the names of the presidents as well as their contact information, no problem.
Perfect. Thank you.
Mhm. Ray, just so you are aware, it is possible that Susan is having some technical issues at the office. So if that happens, then if you're okay, and I don't believe we have any roll call votes, but if that were to occur, I'll go ahead and handle the roll call votes if needed, okay?
Okay,
If she's not on, if she's on, she'll do it, but at this stage of the game, she's having some issues, I believe, with sound and hearing what's coming through our system.
okay, got it.
I think though this will be the first meeting since I've been at the TEA that I don't think other than doing the previous minutes, which is just, done basically, I don't have anything I see that we're voting on this time. So it'll be interesting.
Yeah,
This is Dave Rice joining the meeting.
Good morning.
Well, I see Eddie's on. Hi, Eddie.
Good morning, young feller. How are you?
Pretty good.
Well, you haven't got the heck into Dodge yet, so I'm still pretty upset. So there you go. Just kidding. We had a meeting yesterday too. Scott was on there and with the Council on Career and Tech Ed. And anyway, it's good to see all of you on here today. Just take good care, okay?
Yeah, you as well. Morning, Curtis.
How are you, sir?
Good. Hi, Ryan.
Good morning. How are you?
Good. How's it going?
Good, good. Fast and furious, just how we like it.
Yeah, exactly.
Just remember to go fast, turn left, and throw a little mud in the grandstand. There you go.
I'm actually practicing to make sure that when we sign off, I say it correctly, Eddie, and say what you see you later until next time or whatever, and instead of goodbye forever or whatever the alternative would be. You had a nice take on that last time.
You are terrific. And really, if you'll say that, if everybody will just say that instead of bye sounds so final and so sad. But see you later sounds pretty good. So there you go. There you go. All right. Thank you very much.
Hey, Jim, how you doing?
Good and crazy. How are you?
Same way.
We've got a lot of steel going up on that new building. You'll have to come by and look.
That's got to be exciting.
Vice Chair Frederick, you do have a quorum. I see 7 members on right now. And so I may have missed one, but I have 7 members on at this stage.
Can you go through and tell me who's on? I don't know that I have 7.
Sure. Obviously yourself. I have Member Rice, Member Hoover, Member Estes, Member Sneeden, Member Clark, and Member Schultz.
Okay.
And I apologize if I have missed any member that is also on besides those, but I think I just saw Member Bean.
Okay. All right. With that said, I'd like to call the September 28th, 2023 Kansas Post-Secondary Technical Education Authority meeting to order. The TA meeting is regularly scheduled. It's a conference call meeting being held via Zoom. Chair Humphrey is unavailable for today's meeting, so as vice chair, I will be leading the meeting. And before we get started, just a reminder, please mute your microphones. TA members, board staff, or institutional staff who have comments or questions should first ask to be recognized. Everyone other than the recognized speaker should keep their microphones muted. Each time you are recognized to speak, please state your name and your title before you begin so that you can be readily identified by listeners as well as observers. For each action item, I will state a motion and ask if someone will make the motion. For each motion made, I will then ask for a second. For each motion made and seconded, I will ask Susan to call roll to determine how each TEA member is voting and to announce the results of the vote. We will not do a roll call for approval of the minutes, and we do not need a motion, second, or vote for recess or adjournment unless a TA member requests one. We will not have an opportunity for public comment during this meeting. We will not have an executive session during today's meeting. So are there any questions regarding that reminder? If not, moving on with our meeting, I would like to ask if there are any changes or additions to the agenda. Hearing none, we'll move on for the minutes. You had minutes from our special meeting on September the 19th and our TEA meeting on August 31st. Hopefully you've had a chance to review that, and I would ask if there are any changes to the minutes, and if not, do I have a motion to approve both the September 19th and August 31st minutes as presented?
Mr. Chair, Curtis moves.
Is there a second?
This is Amber Schultz. I'll second.
Okay. Is anyone opposed? If not, motion carries. Thank you. Move on to introductions. Are there any other introductions anyone wants to make at this time? Okay, hearing none. We'll skip over the vice chair's report, and I'll ask, are there any TA members who have a report that they would like to give regarding any of their activities? So TA members.
Mr. Chair,
Yes.
I have what you might call a report. It's not from a visit to an institution, but it pertains to a meeting I've just gotten out of. So I'll defer to you on how that fits into the queue here.
Go ahead.
I've just come from a meeting with the members of the Shawnee County delegation discussing a rapidly blossoming business opportunity in Kansas pertaining to aircraft maintenance, repair, and overhaul. I won't go into a lot of detail here, but an important aspect of that conversation was the workforce needs that's going to impose and the importance of ensuring that our tech colleges are aligned around the need to be generating skilled workers in that area, especially what they call A&P mechanics, airframe and power plant mechanics. So that was a big part of the conversation. And as much as I knew I was coming into this meeting right afterwards, I thought it appropriate to mention that that's a coming very important need, and wanted to be sure I pass that on. It's a big deal.
I agree. It is a big deal, and it's one that we hear over and over again. So we really depend on the tech colleges and the community colleges that are providing that kind of training to continue in their efforts. And hopefully, again, that translates into dollars out of the legislature too. So that would be most helpful. So, okay, anyone else?
Mr. Chair, this is Eddie in Old Dodge City.
Yeah,
Just so you are aware of this, October the 11th is an exciting day in Old Dodge City because that's when the community college here in Dodge invites all the area high school students to the Western State Bank Expo Center, which is also the home of the 3i Show area. And they basically have Career Tech Day. And last year, Mr. Chair, if not mistaken, I believe the number was around 700 young people that attended that and were able to visit all of those programs that are offered at our community college. And I think it's very significant that it's handled that way. And we appreciate that very much. And the young people certainly do, because at that point in time, a little later, they can make decisions as to whether or not they want to attend some of those programs that all of us are so very, very proud of. So that's basically what's happening in Old Dodge City on October the 11th. Thank
Okay.
you.
Appreciate that very much. And clearly, those kinds of opportunities are so valuable to the students. They get that exposure of what's available to them. So thank you, Eddie.
Thank you.
Chair Frederick, this is Dr. Anderson. Now, you know, I'm going to always have some kind of update. We had the pleasure, and if he's listening, then we want to thank the new dean at Washburn Tech. He came by, and he came by with gifts. That's the way you do it. I know, but he came by with a nice little gift, and just to, and it was I think a bundt cake and a little card, just a little treat to start off the year. But more importantly, he came by physically, personally came by my office unexpectedly just to stop in. And that was such a nice personal touch. You know, we're used to going out to them just to have folks coming around. And it wasn't necessarily for the TEA piece. He more so was just coming by to all of the different school districts and the superintendent. So that was a wonderful thing. We thank him for that. On that same note, we also want to share that we've expanded some pathway opportunities. And of course, the classes at TCALC are partnering with Allen Community College to offer college credit. We now have phlebotomy in place as of this year. I'm not sure that it's offering college credit yet, but it's in place. It's new. And the Made for Manufacturing Day is October 6th. And Go Topeka and several of the Shawnee County and Douglas County businesses are helping us with the Made for Manufacturing Day. And then we're having we've added careers to the college fair. So that will be on October 16th at TCALC, and that's for the entire county. You know, it's not just about one district, and we've always done it for the county. The great prior work of Ms. Grosterdeer and others, and Sue Caspers has continued, but it's grown at TCALC. So we're excited about that. So those are just some items. On a totally separate piece, maybe at some point, having some students to share some of what they're doing, these K-12, but also using young people who are connected to tech and community college while at K-12 might be some nice voices to hear, because they're doing some pretty incredible stuff thanks to our universities. That's really it for the report that I wanted to share, and I'm looking forward to visiting Washburn Tech. Met with the Dean Mazachak last week, and she has some really big visions about what's going to be happening in the future.
Great. Thank you. Appreciate the update.
And thank you. In my correction, President Mazachak. We have a female president there. And so President Mazachak of Washburn University. And so that was a great meeting last week, as well as with the dean.
There you go. Thank you. Anyone else of TEAs on an update on their activities?
Yes, this is Natalie Clark, and I also put it in the chat, but we have conducted, actually today, we're conducting the engineering cluster review, but we have met in the areas of architecture and construction, finance and engineering. And Crystal Roberts with the Kansas Board of Regents has attended to discuss program alignment. And Emily Dirksen has presented the labor market information. In addition, on each of the review committees, we have 2-year community and/or technical colleges, as well as 4-year colleges participating as committee members. So thank you. And we'll have 4 additional cluster reviews coming up in the next month or 2.
Very good. Thank you. Anyone else? All right, hearing none, we'll move on our agenda. Thank you, TA members, for sharing your activities. I'd like to call on Vice President Scott Smathers, report on workforce development activities. Scott, you're up.
Well, thank you, Chair Frederick. Just a few things I wanted to mention. Staff attended a SHIO conference in Colorado, which discussed cost model formulas and the idea of also the possibility of how to reward colleges based on outcomes. I don't see anything changing in the short term of what we're currently doing, but I always, it's always good to get ideas as we move forward and for consideration as we move forward. Staff is also continuing to prepare for the Workforce Summit in Manhattan, which is next week. The team will be there. In addition to the conference, there will be an adult education meeting, and MOA civil rights training will occur, and discussions regarding the local needs assessments will also occur. So a lot of things will be happening next Monday and Tuesday in Manhattan. We are starting to ramp up for the end of the year federal reports. We start having to deliver those reports the beginning of October, and it runs pretty consistent all the way through January on various things they're asking for. As part of this, there are a lot of federal training sessions and meetings that staff is participating in. I wanted to let everybody know that the board office has hired a new government relations person who is Adam York. He starts the 2nd of October and has experience working in both the federal and state government. So we look forward to having him join the team. And when he gets here, we will have him in a TEA meeting so everybody can meet him, hopefully face to face. I sent you all the 20-day enrollment report that was released yesterday. While the information is value and provides good trend data, I want to remind members that it also can sometimes be misleading due to the timing of the courses starting and some things like that. So, but it is, it seems to be one of our more popular reports, even though, as I said, sometimes it may not be necessarily the most, I'm hesitant to say accurate, but most, when you look at the numbers, the most practical for what you're looking at. Also, I wanted to let you all know during the board meeting last week, Donna Ginther from KU presented a report projecting job and degree requirements by 2030. There's a whole lot of information in the report, and after this meeting, I will send you all a link to that report. But some of the highlights were that Kansas is going to need 34,000 more workers with degrees to meet demand after considering the 50 by 2030. That's after considering the 54,000 new jobs, but also factoring in the people who are retiring or leaving the state. So there is a shortage there. Of the 54,000 new jobs, 79% will need a bachelor's degree or higher. Around 90% will require some type of education. So the new jobs are requiring higher education. A vast amount of the new jobs, as I said, require education beyond high school. And then it also raises the point that Kansas exports students to Texas, Missouri, Colorado, and Illinois. And in general, in at least the Texas and Colorado situation, it's a lot of that they believe is because the salaries are higher. So those are things that were in that report. And as I said, I will send everybody a link. Lastly, I wanted to let everyone know that the board has canceled their official board meeting in October. Instead, they're going to spend a little extra time just as part of their campus visit to KU and KU Med. So there will not be an official board meeting in October. And I just wanted to make sure everybody was aware of that. And with that, I am happy to stand for questions.
Okay, any questions or comments related to Scott's report and update? I guess you're off the hook.
Chairman Frederick.
Oh, okay, here we go. Yeah, go ahead, Dave.
I just want to reiterate what Scott said about the 20th day numbers. 25 years ago, when community colleges were more like junior colleges, that was probably a pretty accurate of what your enrollment is. But now it's just a snapshot in time. And if you want to compare it to last year's 20th day, that's probably a good picture. But it doesn't accurately reflect anymore what community college enrollment is. And I'm assuming tech colleges too, because community colleges have classes starting all the time, both online and face-to-face, short classes, so forth, business training. So not an accurate picture of what final enrollment will be for those institutions, but it is a snapshot in time you can compare from year to year.
Thank you. I appreciate that perspective and reminder too. Very good. Okay, anything else related to Scott's report?
Mr. Chair, this is Eddie. Yes, I do have something I can't hardly wait to share because it ties right in with some things that have happened here in the past. If you remember, not that many years ago, we had 8 states attend the Mid-America Workforce Summit. Well, one of those states, Mr. Chair, was Colorado. So guess what the headline was in the basically 5th day of September 23 in the Vail Daily. Head Start on Higher Education. Eagle County in Vail is basically duplicating exactly what is happening in the great state of Kansas. So it's spreading, and that's what it's all about. We've got to make every effort we can that every young person, not just in this area, but nationwide, receive the opportunity to do what many of you have supported all these years. I just wanted you to be aware of that. I just happened to be in a meeting out there, and it was pretty exciting, needless to say, to pick. And I do have a copy of the paper, Mr. Chair, but it's in the September 5th issue of vaildaily.com. Thank you all very much for all you do.
Yeah, thank you, Eddie. I think that's a great transition into our next item on our agenda and next 2 items to hear from our community colleges and also our tech colleges. So I'd like to recognize Ryan Ruda, Garden City Community College President, to provide us with an update from the community college. So Ryan, you're next.
All right. Well, thank you, Vice Chair Frederick, and good morning to all the TEA members. It's great to have an opportunity to speak with you on behalf of the community colleges and provide a report. And I believe it has been sent to you there in advance. As a system, we are aligned in providing input to you on how collectively we're working towards meeting overall system and board goals. And from this, you will see how meeting these goals ties directly to meeting community needs and technical education workforce development needs in Kansas. As a system, Kansas community colleges are resilient, responsive, community-oriented, industry-specific, and collectively work towards meeting our mission of access and affordability while being strong economic engines. We've highlighted 4 of our community colleges speaking directly to the goal of economic prosperity. And won't go through the entire reports, but just wanted to highlight a few items from each of the colleges. At Allen Community College, we've highlighted various partnerships and initiatives that are in place, developing industry needs within their region, from computer chip manufacturing to clean energy, as well as early childhood and mental health. So you have examples of the impact that Allen is having within those areas. At Barton Community College, we provided data on the economic impact that Barton Community Colleges has in their region, as well as to the state. Information has also been provided on facility expansion that is occurring on their campus to meet agriculture, crop, cattle production, and CDL training needs. Coffeyville has reported workforce training specific to healthcare and nursing medical assisting, phlebotomy, and EMT paramedic. And they will also be starting a CDL training to meet industry needs within their region. And then finally, Butler is discussing within their report work that's being done on registered apprenticeship training and partnerships that have been created specifically in construction, plumbing, sheet metal, and electricians. Butler is also a certified ACT work ready community and partners with area school districts to create awareness and exposure to work-based learning opportunities for students. So, data from these 4 institutions denotes the value that community colleges add to their communities, as well as the region and the state, and speaks directly to the work that the community colleges are doing to drive economic prosperity and workforce in the state of Kansas. I'm happy to stand, or I guess in this instance, sit for any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you, Ryan. Any questions, comments on the report? I would just say, keep up the good work. It's important to all the communities that these institutions and their partnerships and relationships in their communities. So thank you, Ryan. We'll move on and recognize Jim Jeanette, President of Manhattan Technical College. Provide us with an update on the technical colleges. So Jim, you're
next. You have nothing in writing this month. You're going to get more next month. I'm going to kind of give you a summary real quick of some things going on, especially related to the big projects each of our colleges has because of the base operating grant from the legislature through and the region's support for that. North Central Kansas, Ben has a new building going up to provide more space for these programs. Carpentry, CDL, telecommunications, or excuse me, this is at North Central Tech. Carpentry, CDL, telecommunications, respiratory care with the groundbreaking next spring. These are the programs where the current capacity with their facilities does not match what they can put into the programs. Washburn Tech, they're using the additional funding, 1.2 million of the funding to expand capacity for welding and HVAC training. Again, pretty critical occupations, both for new construction, for renovations, both residential and commercial. Going to Member Stevens' comment earlier, they are also starting to ramp up more related to aviation tech. And then they're growing more apprenticeship programs in the areas of advanced systems technology, machine tool technology, and their early childhood education has an apprenticeship component. Flint Hills Tech and Emporia, the additional funds are helping them make some long due renovations in some of their facilities to repair some issues. They're also working to expand capacity with their advanced manufacturing lab for more programmable logic control capacity. Now that may sound like a mouthful, and you don't want me trying to run those controls, but almost every one of our institutions works with programmable logic control systems because it's commonplace in almost any kind of construction, especially commercial, but more and more in residential. Flint Hills Tech's also using the funding to provide more personnel in advanced manufacturing and with a workforce development executive director. They have recently worked on some final plans on some facility expansion, master planning with their facilities, as well as maintenance. And they're targeting a couple new program areas in CDL and precision agriculture. At Salina Tech, Greg's working on plans for a new facility for industrial maintenance and automation. Again, it's to meet the capacity to provide people for those jobs in his area as well as across the state. The additional funds are also being used right now to expand program capacity in police science, fire science, EMT programs, as well as more space for welding and automotive technology. At Northwest Kansas Tech, a couple of things from Ben. One, they got a new National Science Foundation grant announcement just in the past few days. So that'll give them extra resources in expanding some of their program areas. They're using the additional funds this year through the legislature to expand more CDL capacity with more simulators, another instructor, tractor, and trailer. They're completing renovations at their Price Convention and Training Center, which allows them to do more customized training with area business and industry. And then they're providing more equipment for their program in power sports and in other tech programs and tools for some equipment lifts and diagnostic equipment. Washburn Tech, and I should say, when it comes to aviation aerospace training, Sherry is very easy to work with to expand that in all of our areas as you're interested in it. They're using part of their funds to renovate Building C at the City Center campus, to expand transportation maintenance workforce education, to acquire more tools and equipment. They've seen a huge boom, you might have noticed in the press release and the enrollment report, with both secondary students and traditional students in their in Sedgwick County and their surrounding area. And then a couple corporate supports that they want to highlight are from Foley and Walzer, which is a Mercedes-Benz dealership. They're providing more and more in-kind support, so WSU Tech can again enhance the customized training of some of their students to go right into work for those companies. Finally, a little old Manhattan Tech. The steel frames going up on our new Advanced Technology Center, that's using up about $1 million of the new funds. That will give us an additional 47,000 square feet of space for 7 programs. 5 of the programs currently exist. It will double our capacity of construction tech, HVAC, industrial engineering tech, and critical environment tech. It'll be the new home for our lineman training program, electric power and distribution. And then two new programs in that facility will be plumbing technology and biomanufacturing. At our Wamego Center, the welding lab is done. We'll start doing training for Caterpillar shortly. And next year, the back half of that facility will ramp up for electrician technology training. I'm really proud to support that the city of Manhattan is providing $1 million to us for this new facility here over the next 5 years. And we've had so far 8 donations or pledges in the 6-figure range that from different either individuals, trusts, companies. So a lot of the local folks are really stepping up to help us in that regard. On the enrollment data, I agree with everything you said. It's a snapshot, but one of the things you should notice when you look at the trend lines, tech college sector in the state has been constantly growing and expanding over the last decade. So again, I thank TEA, the regents, the legislature for their support, but I really want to do a shout out to my fellow presidents. Particularly, I want to call out, if you look at the data with Salina Tech, Greg and his crew have just done an outstanding job getting everything going in their area. And of course, Sherry continues to lead the way. Washburn Tech's numbers are great. We're all getting there. And again, we appreciate your support, and we're going to keep rocking, doing the best we can with quality workforce education. And I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Okay, any questions of Jim? Comments? It's all good stuff, and appreciate the way that you continue the tech colleges, community colleges as well, but certainly the tech colleges for the way they respond to their business partners and their community. Very significant into the health of the community and the future of these students too, and the opportunities that they have in front of them as they continue to work through these programs. So appreciate it, Jim. Appreciate the work both you and Ryan are doing, and look forward to additional reports. So, okay, we're going to move on our agenda, other matters, and I'd like to call on Vice President Elaine Frisbee, provide us with a legislative update. So Elaine, you're next.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you for having me join you today. The first part of my discussion with you this morning will be a little bit of an update with the legislature. We are here in late September, so the 2024 legislative session will start on Monday, January 8th, so a little more than 3 months out. Being an odd numbered year, nobody is up for election this year, but we have lost Representative Fred Patton, a local legislator here in Topeka, who is resigning his seat. So the local Republican precinct committee members of his district will elect someone to serve out the rest of his term. He was chairman of the House Judiciary Committee for several sessions, so that is a loss for the House. Although the full legislature is not in session, there are special interim committees unique to this interim that are hearing about a variety of topics. We have committees on childcare, homelessness, elections, mental health, restricted driving privileges, and legislators' compensation rates. There are also the standard joint committees that meet every year. The Legislative Coordinating Committee, which serve as the administrative body for the legislature and that approves all these interim committees and the number of days that they can meet. The Legislative Budget Committee, which is actually meeting today, also gets a little bit update from time to time in the interim on how revenues are looking to date and other budget relevant topics. Of course, we have the Legislative Post Audit Committee that meets regularly to take up audit results. As the audit staff have completed audits, then they get presented to the committee for discussion. And we have the Joint Committee on IT that meets also on state government IT matters, and the Joint Committee on State Building Construction, which is an important committee for us, for our system of state universities that must present their 5-year plans to the building committee so that they can endorse those for us. These interim committees are important. They are a source for new bills in the coming session. So we do monitor their activity. All of their meetings are broadcast on the legislature's YouTube channel. So right now the budget committee is meeting and that you can go watch their activity on YouTube. As we monitor their activity, sometimes also we're invited to testify. And Dr. Flanders will testify this afternoon to Legislative Budget Committee about the state university's capital projects financed with ARPA funding. And we'll also hear from the Wichita State and KU Med Center folks on their biomedical campus that's being worked on for Wichita. And he's also going to testify on October 10th to the Special Committee on Education. And that committee is meeting next week to talk about K-12 issues. And also the two-year colleges have been also invited to testify on the 10th about several topics. Blake's testimony will focus on the early college initiative we're going to talk about in the budget, but I'm sure there will be other post-secondary topics that'll be covered. Next week, they're going to be focused on K-12 topics and mostly on student achievement at the K-12 level, and also talking about at-risk students. And so that's kind of what we know as of September 28th with the legislature. I don't know if there are any questions.
Okay, any questions, Elaine?
Very excited to have Adam York join us next week.
I bet you are.
Yes.
We look forward to an introduction with him, and certainly very important position and a help to all of our institutions and universities. So,
absolutely.
Okay, any questions, comments? If not, Elaine, go ahead with the Board of Regents Unified State Appropriations request.
Certainly. So the board met for 2 days last week and they finalized the board office budget request that will be submitted tomorrow to the Division of Budget. And there's a table there in your materials about the calendar and the schedule of how the budget process works. In the state budget process, we're generally, you can consider it an annual process, although some things go farther out in time. But every year we are confronting either revising or adding to or seeking new funding for the budget. And of course, generally we focus on the state general fund. We are asking for $110,000 in the current year for our adult education program. The federal government has appropriated us slightly more Title II WIOA funds. And as a result, we need to increase our state match for that. So that will be included in our request for the current year, which we also incorporated in our request for 2025 as well. And we'll get to that in a moment. So on the next page, there's a long table describing all of the requests that will be embedded in the budget for the system. And I want to highlight a few of those. One of which is the state's Kansas Nursing Initiative. That was first developed and passed by the legislature in 2006. So we've had it for quite a while. Since 2006, the funding has generally been right about 1.8 million. Never have we ever gotten that increased. The board is seeking to essentially double that, slightly more than double that, to get 2 million more. So we would have 3.8 million. The effect of how that might expand programs, the potential for that probably won't be as much as what we had initially put on the list, as I think 8.2 million to get to a total of 10. So we'll be trying to sort out what impact we can get from the $2 million request. We are asking for $9 million for a concurrent enrollment diploma plus pilot program. I consider this as Excel and TCE, but for gen ed type courses. And this would be an opportunity for the state to assist high school students to take college level gen ed type courses. So your transfer type courses, improve our college going rate. We're also seeking $200,000 for open educational resource opportunities. If you're not familiar with OER, that is where a student would not have to purchase a very expensive textbook for something like a composition class. This would be an open source document that they could use at little or no cost to the student. So this is definitely a student affordability program that we want to keep going. We started with some of our federal gear money for this initiative. Now we want the state, now that that fund is coming to an end, we want the state to start helping us keep that going, that momentum going. We've pegged $20,000, a rather nominal amount, for assistance with FAFSA completion events, where we could reimburse high school counselors and financial aid counselors to attend events across the state to help high school students with how to complete the FAFSA. That's going to be a high school requirement in the coming years. And so we need to get some momentum with helping more people understand how to complete that, which of course, if you're not familiar with the FAFSA, the federal government is changing that this year. And as I understand it, I'm told that the government shutdown is not going to impede that progress, but that will remain to be seen. We'll just leave it at that. We also have $500,000 pegged in the system budget for micro internship expansion. We do have the Kansas micro internship program, and we want to see that expanded to more students to get workplace experience as part of their learning opportunities in college. And then toward the bottom of that page, I just want to highlight for the two-year colleges and for our adult ed programs, we have 4 items that are being repeated in our budget for 2025 that were provided for from the legislature for 2024. Repeat the $5 million for CTE CAPTA outlay, state aid for those 10 colleges not eligible under state law. The $14.3 million, repeat that for growing our apprenticeships and business industry partnerships. The $6.5 million for IT cybersecurity. Are just like our state universities, the colleges have need for bolstering their networks and fending off cybersecurity attacks. And then also repeating the $10.5 million for our technical college operating grants. And then the very last item on that page relates to our adult ed program. So we have $110,000, that same maintenance of effort amount pegged for the federal funding, and then also adding $1 million to expand what we can give to the centers so that we can meet more of the demand. As I understand it, we do have students turned away from our adult ed centers, and we want to be able to serve those Kansas citizens. So we're putting that as $1 million. And that will all be put into our budget narrative and submitted tomorrow. And then we'll run from there during the legislative session. Be happy to answer any questions if I can.
Okay, any questions of Elaine or comments regarding this report?
So I just wanted to ask a little more detail on the college navigators to improve Kansas's college going rate. A little more detail about if they would work with the individual plan of study coordinators where we have it required 8th through 12th grade.
I can take a stab at it. I think that the details of how the college navigators would function is still a bit undetermined, but the concept is we would have a group of people engaged across the state who could go into high schools and help the counselors who are local and help the students understand the full array of their post-secondary options. Whether it's, if you know that you want to study auto body collision work, or you want to learn welding, or you're unclear on what you want to do, here are your local options to go to a community college, to go to a technical college. Or if you really know that you want to go to a four-year institutions, here's what your options are. And the full array of pricing and program options that we have. So I think of them, I call them as non-denominational. They're not tied to any particular sector or school. They're tied to the entire public system of higher ed. I hope that helps.
Yes, thank you.
Okay, any other questions or comments?
Yes, this is Member Hoover. So I was just curious on the nursing. You had mentioned an increase request and you mentioned 3.8 million. So is that the request, or is it 2 million that you have listed here?
In our budget, we have the 1.8 million. And so we're adding 2 million to it, where we were asking to grow by 2 million to get to a total of 3.8.
Okay, so this is just the increase request.
Yes.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
So we make a distinction in the budget process as to what's embedded in our budget already. And so we have the 1.8. We know that seems pretty secure, although nothing's ever a sure thing until the legislature leaves Topeka. And so we talk about the items in this list are what we term enhancements in the budget process. All of these are enhancements.
Elaine, this is Dave Rust.
Mhm.
This isn't really a tech issue, but in a nutshell, could you quickly explain the concurrent enrollment diploma pilot plus program, how that works?
Again, I can explain for what I know so far. I think, again, this is still under development, but the concept is the state would provide a set rate for an institution to deliver courses for high school students. And I believe we would pilot potentially three courses. And I just to say composition 1 could be one of those courses. So a college level composition 1 course, and the state would provide the subsidy for that so that the student wouldn't be charged tuition.
Okay, thank you.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, any other questions, comments? If not, thank you, Elaine.
Very
Appreciate
good.
it. Okay, next we'll call on Vice President Scott Smathers with a review on the Board of Regents goals for AY 24. So Scott, you're next.
Thank you, Vice Chair Frederick. Rather than go through all of the board goals, which are in your packet, I thought I'd just choose a few of them and talk to you about those as I see those possibly directly impacting and relating a little more to the TEA. One of their goals is goal number 1, which was to strengthen the college programs with an emphasis on financing. And they probably will make a tweak to that, slightly saying common course entrance requirements rather than just common entrance requirements, expansion of concurrent enrollment opportunities, and deployment of the career navigators. And I believe Vice President Frisbee has already explained the career navigators, but the general idea is to expand concurrent courses by finding a funding source and standardizing some of the processes to make it easier for students and parents to understand. And the navigators would be there once again to help the institutions, parents and students and counselors understand the opportunities available to them. And obviously that also involves Excel and CTE courses and programs, technical programs as well. So that was goal number 1. Goal number 2 is developing a statewide transfer associate degree program, which transfers at least 60 hours, and it would be a program transfer. They just recently did the education program, which transfers 60 hours, which is standard. So if a 2-year college teaches to the courses that are defined inside that program transfer, all 60 hours will transfer within the program. It isn't, one of the issues that we've had historically is that when hours transfer, the hours transfer to a university, but not necessarily to the program that the student is in. It goes more into just extra hours. So it doesn't it doesn't necessarily help the student get through the system faster. So they're going to work on the nursing programs. And then I've also heard that we may look at a couple other programs as well and see how that goes. But the nursing program will be one of those that they're looking at. And goal number 3, that is really related to Pillar 2 and Pillar 3 of the board strategic plan. It definitely includes the 2-year colleges and workforce development along with workforce aid. The board has a really strong desire, and I believe Commerce has a strong desire to enhance our partnership. The feeling is it helps with business recruitment, business expansion, and it's exactly the overall success of Kansas. So it's a win for everybody. If the closer we can work with the Department of Commerce on and the business and industries, the better off we are. I'm going to drop down to goal 5 and identifying alternative credentials. This, I believe, relates very closely to the TEA goal 10, which is determine the best way to record participation, promote awareness, and emphasize the value of customized training that's occurring at the various 2-year colleges. Not only do we need to document the training that's going on there, but also we need to determine what credentials are truly needed by business and industry to help students be successful in their career. And as you know, there are over 1 million credentials out there and growing. And so this is not an easy task. We do this somewhat for our aligned programs, but this is quite a task to undertake because remember, there are over 160 technical programs alone that we have approved. And then think about how many additional associate degree and baccalaureate degree programs are out there and everything. So this is going to be quite a challenge. It is not just a 1-year process for sure to be able to identify this, but that's quite an undertaking that the board has as far as a goal there. Continue on here. Couple other things I'll mention. If you look at the follow-up goal, number 1, the focus of that, the optimize the reverse program transfer. What you're really trying to do is with that is ensure that students who finish 2 years worth of college, if they've done at least 60 credit hours and made progress, and I realize this is a very generalized statement, but we want them to end up with, if you've got your 60 hours in and it's been created, we would love for students to be able to end up with, at a minimum, the associate degree. Now, the associate degree not only gives them a degree when they're applying for jobs, but it also kind of documents where they're at to a level, which makes it easier then if they decide in the future years to go back and try to pursue their baccalaureate degree, that associate degree is something doesn't go away, and the credit for having that is I think it makes it easier for them when they try to go back, if they decide to go back for their baccalaureate degree. So that's a lot of the focus of that point. And I will also mention on the follow-up item number 5, I believe they're probably going to remove instead of calling it the student mental health care services, I think they'll probably just make that the student health care services, expanding that a little bit. So it won't just be mental, but it will be physical and everything else as well. So I think those are probably going to be a couple of the changes that occur. And as I said, those are some of the goals that the board has. And with that, I will try to answer any questions you may have.
Okay, any questions, comments related to this report?
Mr. Chairman, acting chairman, I have a question. Scott, on the number 3 above, we didn't mention it, but that enhance the partnership and alignment with KDOC to grow the state's economy. I get that. Institutions will focus on the talent pipeline areas that align with state's growth. Okay, Got that. I was interested in the recruit and retain faculty with research expertise to support these industries.
Mhm.
What I don't necessarily disagree. I mean, I don't disagree that Kansas needs to integrate the research and what needs to happen in business and industry, what works, what doesn't, as far as, especially with maybe new technologies. I was wondering what's the thought or thinking behind that for KBOR?
Sure, I think there's a couple things. As you're aware, in the federal government, there's the CHIPS Act that is out there, which is playing a major role and requiring a lot of technology associated with that as they expand that efforts. There's also the effort within Kansas to become a regional technical hub. And so as part of that as well, you have the technology that's coming to that. And those are just two of the starting points. Then, of course, you have agriculture, you have the bio center that's going on in Manhattan and others. So the feeling is that business and industry with AI and other things is expanding at and changing at a rapid rate. And there's a lot of research and technical expertise that's required associated with that. So we want to make sure that our universities are able to stay up with that, participate in that, and be on the cutting edge with that, both to help business and industry, but also make sure that our students are on the cutting edge. So when they get out, they're highly sought after.
Okay, and and I'm sure they've talked about this, some gaps I've noticed with some of this is that that research expertise would be very effective, both with the 2-year colleges, both the technical and community colleges, that we get support to them with that, as well as the regionals. But our focus here is the 2 years. And I would say that a lot of those are my observations with some of the CHIP Act stuff and some of the new industries coming into Kansas, that a large portion of that workforce will not necessarily be 4-year. There'll be a lot of 2-year technical certificates and credentials required or asked for for new hires. And I think it would be extremely helpful if the 2-year colleges are included in that emphasis on supporting faculty with some research expertise or and how to integrate the best research into our training programs at the 2-year level.
Good point.
Okay, any other comments or questions related to the goals?
Yeah, Vice Chair, this is Secretary Schultz. I just had a couple questions, just maybe an update related to this. On your Building a Future dashboard, are you guys going to start laying out kind of the KPIs for the business and economic prosperity related to these goals?
I have to tell you, I'm a little out of my league. I don't know if Vice President Frisbee is still on the call or not. I know she's been much more involved with the dashboard. But
you don't have to answer that now. You can just
information.
give me a holler sometime. Just
Sure.
curious.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, comments? I would just like to focus on number 5, identifying alternative credentials. I think the most important part of that is when it says that are valued by business and industry. I think it would appear to me that our institutions, particularly our 2-year institutions, community colleges and tech colleges, they are doing a much better job than in years past of actually listening to their business and industry partners and finding out what is valuable to them and as far as credentials and the outcomes of these students that they're turning out. And I applaud them, and I'm glad to see that certainly the universities or the KBOR is including their goals. And I just would, again, appreciate and encourage the two-year institutions to keep listening to your business and industry partners as best you can and try to match their needs with what you are delivering in the programs in the classroom. It pays huge benefits, not only for the students, of course, but for the industry and also the community. So glad to see that as an emphasis, and just keep working at it. I know it's not always an easy task, but it's very important. So, okay, anyone else?
Mr. Chair, a classic example of what you just said is happening right now in Old Dodge City again, because Hillmar Cheese is going to open up at the end of 24. But during that time, prior to that, they have to have 257 employees fully trained before they can even open the doors. And so the community college here is right there, and they're working together, and it's just a very impressive. And the same things have happened in Garden City and Liberal. We've just got a bunch of schools that are really out there making an effort to do exactly, Mr. Chair, what has to be done at this point in time. Thank you.
Thank you, Eddie. Anyone else? Okay, thank you, Scott. Appreciate the update. So we'll move on in our agenda, and I'll call on Associate Director Sharman Chambers to provide us with the information on Excel and CTE training and collection. So Sharman, you're next.
Thank you, Vice Chair Frederick. Good morning, everyone. We wanted to provide the authority a quick update concerning the Excel and CTE fee collection this year, and this is an informational item for you. The data collection for the academic year 2025, so next year, that data collection for the Excel and CTE fees just opened on Monday, the 25th, and it closes on October 31st. We plan to provide the TEA a review of the updated fees in December, and then have KBOR review them in January. The previously approved fees for academic year 2024, which we're in right now, were posted. These are posted currently on the KBOR website under Workforce Development. These are provided to institutions as a starting point. So any fees that are not updated from last year automatically roll over for 2025. And each fee that's submitted is reviewed by KBOR staff in the KEDS database. We've scheduled our annual webinar to provide assistance to the institutions for October 4th and sent that out. Just a few of the items that we include in that webinar are touching on the fact that only actual fees charged to high school students should be included. Fees should not be submitted if there are no fees charged to high school students, and the actual fee amounts should be included specifically. We go through the examples, which you'll see there on your issue paper, of the allowable and unallowable fees. And finally, and most importantly, only the fees that are approved are to be charged to high school students. So we cover all of that in the webinar and in the PowerPoint. We provide all of that as well as the PowerPoint and an updated FAQ as a takeaway to assist the institutions as they're entering that data. And that concludes my update. I would stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions, Sharman, related to the fees and the training on the collection of the fees? So appreciate your efforts and trying to continue to keep the communication open between, you know, your office and also the institutions. It's an ongoing, I think, education and a good reminder to everyone of, you know, the process, what's allowable and what's not. So appreciate the effort.
Absolutely.
All right. Just a reminder, our next meeting is in person at KBOR offices of October 26th. And look forward to seeing everyone at that time. And if there's no other business, we are adjourned. Thank you to all.
Thank you. Take care.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Get the heck into Dodge.
Thanks, Ray.